In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
Muted. It's probably not good when you do a podcast if you're muted. You probably do have to unmute yourself if you're going to do a show. Like the microphone thing only works if it's on. So once again, welcome back to the Blunt Politics podcast. I'm Boston Brian. I appreciate you for joining me. We're trying a little something new here. We're on the vertical and the horizontal. I like to call it the Charlie Kirk and the non-Charlie Kirk, horizontal and vertical. You'll get that if you want to. But happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. What's going on? Hope you got your green on. Raise them if you got them. Smoke them if you got them. Drink them if you got them. What do you say? Hit that like button on the way in. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Mods, as always, thank you for taking the time out to keep that chat a safe place. Thank you to the best chat on earth, which is the Blunt Politics community that we've built right here. I do appreciate you guys once again for being here. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. It's a slow roll. We're trying to get there before midterms. We'll see if we can do it. It's only with your help that we're going to be able to do it. But let's say hi to the chat first and foremost before we dive into a few things that we got to talk about today. As always, what's up, Yakov? What's up, William? What's up, Big Steph? Thank you to everybody on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, the whole 9 yards. Like I say, hit that button, whatever the respective button is on that platform, to make sure the old algorithm knows that we are live and they can steer some people towards the show. What do you say? What's going on? Slightly Mad Mom, how are you? I see you in there. What's up, Tina? What's going on, everybody? What's up, Tiff? As always, what's up, Rox? What's up, Kim? How are you? What's up, Eddie? Appreciate you guys. What's going on, Gamer? LM Blossom, I see you guys, and then make sure you hit the like button as always. All right, lots to talk about. I may have to dip out a few minutes early today. I do have, unfortunately, I know it's so sad that I have to go into the city today to see the Dropkick Murphys at the House of Blues. Let's fucking go. Can't wait to see Ken Casey. Good friend of the show, good friend. Met him up, got the opportunity to meet him in Ukraine, which was unbelievable, and obviously been staying in touch ever since. So, St. Patrick's Day, Dropkick Murphys, Boston, House of Blues. Does it get any better than that? I'm not sure. I actually tried to start a goal. I'm not sure if I did it the right way. Let's see if I can try to do this, right? No, I don't want to hear you. Hold on. Give me a second here because I'm a boomer, but let me see. I think there is a way where we can start a goal, but the goal was going to be if we could get 20 super chats, right, in the 2-hour show or as long as I'm on, then I'm going to try to get a special shout out to the Blunt Politics community, to the Bryantologists here, the lobsters in this fucking fabulous, amazing community that we've built here. I'm going to try. I can't guarantee, but I'm going to try my best to see if I can get like a special shout out or, a show of appreciation, something like that. I'm going to put my right hand up. It is a promise made to this chat right now that I will try to get that if we can get that goal going. I don't know if I set it up right. I don't even know if you could see it, but let's just say it's an imaginary goal and all colors are accepted. All right. I appreciate you. Again, it says, I don't know. It says it's up there. I can't see it. What do you know? Mods, tell me if I'm doing it right or wrong, because chances are I'm doing it wrong. All right. Ton to get into. Oh, Greg, thank you so much. And congratulations on being here 4 months. What do you say, brother? What do you say? Happy go, happy everything. Happy fucking Tuesday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy shit show. I appreciate you guys as always, Greg. Thank you so much. Congratulations on 4 years. What's up, Tom? I see you Hamels in the house. What's happening? Tell Victoria I said hi. Tell Bowie I said what's up. All right, ton to dive into. Let's not waste any more time. We got some shit shows to talk about, and that's going to consist of like ICE being in Vermont, using similar tactics, very similar scenes that we saw in the Twin Cities now happening in Vermont. Israel launches a ground war in Lebanon. Iran continues its strikes in retaliation. Netanyahu controversies. We got to dip into the Netanyahu controversies. I mean, I thought we had kind of put that to bed, but the internet did its thing once again, and we'll be discussing it. I want to get your take on that. What's going on? Are they hiding anything? Is the guy still breathing? Is he not breathing? I don't know. The whole thing is just, it's almost too much at this point. We're also going to be looking at a couple clips here from Lawrence Wilkerson. I believe he was a colonel. He's absolutely no friend of ours, and, loves to talk about how it was Biden's fault for the Russian invasion of Ukraine, loves to say that it was Ukraine going after Russia that actually stoked the whole war. He's not a friend of ours, but is going after Donald Trump in pretty not like, he's not beating around the bush, let's say. He's calling out Trump in a pretty direct way as far as the incompetency seen here in the Iran war and kind of his, Trump's lack of having an off-ramp and whether or not he's going to be able to get out of this before it gets a lot worse. Which, again, we've all speculated on. We're also going to be talking about Trump and his Cuba rhetoric, his Cuba comments, which, again, I don't know if it gets any more directly aligned with Hitler, gets any more directly aligned with all of the autocrats and the dictators of the past that just wanted to, again, take over the world. I mean, when he says he's going to have the honor of taking over Cuba, I mean, I want you to kind of recognize how insane that is for the United States president to be saying. We'll take a look at the clip a little later in the show. We'll be talking about, obviously, Joe Kent's resignation. Little too late for me to give him any praise, really. If he kind of had a soul, if he had a conscience, if he knew this was wrong. There was a lot of actions that happened before this that he could have beat feet. He could have resigned before this. But again, we'll be reading out Joe Kent's statements and seeing a little bit of the reaction from that as well. We got some clips from the I've Had It podcast. I think just kind of in their kind of their ones and twos, kind of their take on Trump's press conference and, the ridiculousness of it. And then we'll be talking about Piers Morgan had some woman on who is officially declaring MAGA dead. So I thought we'd jump into that and see if we could figure out if she's telling the truth, if she means it, if she's sounding like we are, because we've been calling out the whole MAGA civil war. We've been talking about how the right-wing commentators are, they're in a frenzy right now going after themselves and not going after the Democrats and not fighting for the Republican Party like they used to going into a midterm election, going into a general election. Like you're used to having that right-wing commentary, like that base of people, espousing the same bullshit, spewing the same propaganda, saying the same things, going after Democrats, lying about Democratic policies, that type of thing. But no, they're calling out each other. They're trying to some are defending Trump, some are going after Trump. You know what I mean? Some have, clearly left the MAGA kind of base, as it were, already. Some have filtered to Nick Fuentes. Some have gone to Candace Owens. The whole thing is it's a shit show at this point, to continue the theme of the show today. But all right, let's dive into this first clip I wanted to talk about because I wanted to catch everybody up to speed on this. You're not really hearing too much about this on the old mainstream media. I know some have covered it to an extent, but definitely not getting the attention that, the Twin Cities and the ICE actions got there. So I want to make sure that we are continuously staying up on the actions of ICE all over the country, whether that be in Minneapolis, whether that be in California, whether that be in Vermont, wherever it may be. We need to make sure that we're calling these motherfuckers out and make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're up to. Because these scenes, again, as you'll see here, very reminiscent of what we saw and continue to see in Minneapolis, because that drawdown has not been seen to the number 0 as would like to have it seen around there. So let's just dive into this. This is just a quick New York Post clip here to kind of detailing and showing you the protesters. It says here details that protesters were harassing ICE and they were arrested for it during operation in Vermont here. But again, you guys can be the judge of that and whether or not these people were standing up for their community, doing the right thing as we've been calling on the American citizenry to do for quite some time. So again, before we even get into this, a lot of respect for the people in Vermont. I think this is Burlington, if I'm not mistaken. I think it'll say here, so correct me if I'm wrong in that. But again, big ups to these people. A lot of respect to the people out here showing support for the community, standing in the way of ICE, making sure that they're not just able to pick and choose who they're going to rip out of their homes unconstitutionally and send away to some faraway prison camp in a nation that they're not from. So again, this is just a quick clip here from the New York Post about what's been taking place in Vermont with ICE. So let's take a look at this real quick.
All of
So again, you can see just already clearly reminiscent of what was taking place and continues to take place in Minnesota. Looks like the whole goddamn community showed up. Looks like the whole goddamn community showed up. You can see there, again, trying to break into a house, and you got the whole community outside, making it about as difficult as possible for these mass thugs to get away with their operation here. And again, you can clearly hear the sentiment of the crowd. They're not there in a friendly capacity.
Yo, police!
So again, even with the news that Bavino's going to be retiring, right? Even with Tom Homan's soft rhetoric, even with their claims of a drawdown in Minneapolis, like that doesn't take them away from the culpability and all of the shit that is still going on around the country. All of the people that they're still trying to, illegally round up, people that are going through the asylum process properly, that have shown up to every single meeting, that have signed every document, filled out every document they needed to fill out, and still somehow are getting rounded up. They're still somehow getting deported. This still continues to go on all over the country. It's surprising, I'm sure, to a lot of people to hear that it's taking place in Vermont. I'm sure a lot of people, rightly so, consider Vermont to be one of the whitest states in the country. If not the whitest, if I'm not mistaken. Do I have that right? I think it might be statistically the whitest state in the country, or at least in the, the top category there. But again, a lot of people are surprised to see this, but this is what's taken place over the last, I think, 4 or 5 days, if not more. That, again, people have not really been talking about, that really hasn't been covered by the mainstream media, again, like it was, like we saw in the Twin Cities. But again, this stuff continues to happen all over the country, and I need to make sure that, the country knows that this is going on, and it hasn't stopped. I know the coverage to a large extent has stopped. I know with the Iran war, a lot of people aren't talking about this, and this is kind of getting getting pushed to the side here. But, we need to make sure that we continuously talk about all of the issues that are now being faced by this country, not only with the wars that are going on, not only, with the economy and the threats to it, but also with the actions of DHS and ICE, even with Kristi Noem being gone, even with Greg Bavino being gone, and even with Tom Homan pretending to have this, new soft touch, to the public that he wants to portray when he gets in front of cameras now. But again, very similar scenes. I can tell you right now that this was Minneapolis. I could tell you that this was anywhere in Minnesota right now, and you'd have a hard time kind of being like, well, no, that's not that. That's not where it is. You know what I mean? So when I tell you this is in Vermont, that's when a lot of people are like, oh shit, Vermont. Why Vermont? And you can see the number of people out there. So this is not obviously a small pushback. This is a large pushback that the crowd, they're in there locked arms. So again, shout out to these people. A lot of respect for the people showing up for their community. Flashbangs going off. And again, the United States 2026. Under Donald Trump's failed leadership, this is what you get. I mean, it's crazy because you got people in front of the vehicle. You got these ICE officers or whoever they may be waving the vehicle on as if there aren't bodies and people laying in front of the vehicle right now. Just total carelessness, total lack of regard for the human life. like we've continued to see from these ICE officers, from these DHS agents. That just continues to be the through line in their actions. They're as brutal, they're as violent. They don't care about the law. They just want to make sure that they're, seen to be the boss, seen to be in control of the situation, which a lot of the times, as you can see, they're just not. So again, and there's tons of videos like this. As you can see, this was just kind of one example that I found. Let me see if I go back and show you guys this. So you can see
Developing news
suspect
tonight.
in South Burlington ICE operation remains at large. Protesters arrested. Protesters detained during ICE operation in South Burlington, Vermont. So again, there has been some coverage, but again, it's been kind of drowned out by the larger news, obviously, of the war taking place. The bases being bombed, the United States soldiers that have been lost. I mean, obviously, but again, we need to make sure that we're detailing this for the American people so that everybody understands that this is still going on. This isn't, by any means finished yet. I know Donald Trump, there's been reports to suggest that he's been kind of telling people to quit talking about mass deportations. It doesn't like the pushback that he's getting. He doesn't like the polling that he's seen as far as public sentiment in retaliation for what they're seeing on the street. So they're trying to keep it quiet. They want to keep this as quiet as possible. They don't want this to get the attention. They don't want it to get the news coverage that, again, everything that was in Minneapolis was getting, everything in the, Minnesota, in the greater Minnesota area was getting. So we want to make sure that we do our best to continue to highlight this and make sure that, again, everybody knows that this is still taking place, even in places where you wouldn't suspect it would be happening, like places like Vermont and stuff like that. So just to make sure that we're doing our part here, I want to make sure that that was brought to your attention. Make sure that we keep up on the masked Gestapo thugs that continue to raid our cities and streets, that are responsible already for the deaths of Americans in broad daylight on the streets of America in 2026, right? That's where we are right now. So that's continuing. I want to make sure that with all of the bullshit where you have to sift through all of the war news, everything that's taken place in Iran, all of the actions by Netanyahu, everything that the IDF has undertaken, everything that's taken place in Ukraine, all of the actions by Russia, all of what's taking place with the economy and gas prices. All of this, the SAVE Act, everything that we have to cover going into midterms today. People in Illinois should be getting out and voting for Kat Abigail. If you're out there, if you have the ability to, and you're in that district, if I'm not mistaken, is it the Illinois' 9th congressional district? Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on that one, please, so we make sure to get that right. But yes, I do believe today is the day for that, so make sure that everybody's getting involved in that. But there's just so much to cover that you can see how this would kind of, fall by the wayside and want to be swept underneath the rug by Tom Homan and the rest of these people. So, yeah, absolutely, Yakov, absolutely. We are definitely behind Kat 100%. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get her on the podcast. We tried a few times. I think I was sick one of the times, and then she was either arrested or doing her thing out in public and making sure that, she was standing up for the people in some of the other moments. So again, we do stand behind Kat. And today, if you're in Illinois, if you're in her district, make sure you get out there. Kat is the 9th. Okay, Cal, appreciate that. Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure that I have that correct. That's what I thought. So anybody out there, make sure you're voting for Kat. We do appreciate you. Tell them everybody at the Blunt Politics crew sent you to do so. We appreciate it. So, all right, let's dive on to this next story here, which is just kind of detail the ever-expanding nature of this war that Donald Trump and Israel have undertaken. And this is Preston Stewart detailing the ground war that Israel has now undertaken in Lebanon. We knew it was coming. We knew that boots on the ground was an inevitability in whatever theater that we were talking about, whether it be boots on the ground in Iran or in other aspects of this where Israel was trying to affect either proxies or Iran themselves. So again, this is Preston Stewart. I'm just going to dive into a few minutes of this detailing what we suspected and, again, how this war continues to kind of get out of Donald Trump's control. We kind of get further led into a deeper conflict here by Israel in their decisions. But this is, again, Preston Stewart just kind of detailing the ground invasion, the ground war that Israel has launched, trying to detail and make sure that everybody is, again, recognizing just how, again, out of Donald Trump's hands this is. How you cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. This is not something that even when Donald Trump decides to, if and when he decides to say, okay, we're done, even though he says it was over in 2 days, we've taken out all the targets. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no leadership. They have no nothing. Meanwhile, he's not ready to end this. He was asked specifically by, I believe, Peter Doocy, if you say that we have no targets to hit, if you say that their leadership to the extent that you wanted to see taken out has been taken out, you talk about their boats, you talk about their Navy, you talk about their Air Force, will you end the war this week? And Donald Trump says no. He just outright says no. He's just having too much fun, apparently killing innocent civilians, bombing girls' schools, destabilizing the region to a point that, again, probably is going to take years and years and years to restabilize. So, again, let's just dive into this real quick. Just a couple minutes of Preston Stewart's video. Shout out to Preston for the work that he does in making these videos and keeping us up to speed as well. So hit that like button. If not for me, for Preston. Again, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Appreciate you joining me. Toast to you. I guess I'm starting off with the Canada Dry because I know it's going to be a long night, but cheers to you guys. Sláinte. All right, let's go. Dive into it.
So Israel just kicked off ground operations against Hezbollah, with their defense minister saying they are going to turn southern Lebanon into a wasteland like Gaza. The IDF a few hours ago said that they have begun limited and targeted ground operations against key Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon, aimed at enhancing the forward defense area. And that's the terminology being used here, not invasion, not war, not operation, forward defense area. They say, quote, this activity is part of a broader defensive effort to establish and strengthen a forward defensive posture, which includes the dismantling of terrorist infrastructure.
A forward defensive posture. I mean, just the wording that they choose to use in this, a forward defensive posture. So again, another word for an offensive, I guess. How else do you kind of break that down? If you're trying to, again, do an incursion, as they like to call it, right? Excursion. Sorry, Donald Trump loves to call it excursion, even though I'm pretty sure he was told it was an incursion. Anyway, if they're trying to make this seem as subtle and as gentle as possible, they're going to try to make it seem like it's a defensive maneuver, even though they're, again, incursion. They're going into somebody else's territory, putting boots on the ground. So again, an expanding nature of this war, just another theater of this war to open up, or again, an ever-growing aspect of this when boots inevitably hit the ground. That's a new aspect to this. This is a different phase to this altogether.
And the elimination of terrorists operating in the area. I hate these word games so much, and I hate the word.
And I didn't even again, right hand to you guys. I did not watch even a single second of this before I decided to watch it with you guys. I figured he does a great job anyway, and it's exactly what it pertains to the show and what we're talking about. So again, even he kind of recognizes the word games, the word play involved there. And that's not me saying it. That's, again, somebody that I will rightly say has probably more knowledge, probably vastly more knowledge on this than I do. So again, just to show you that you're not watching the wrong show. You are getting good, getting good insight and intel and opinions from Blunt Politics here.
We're doing it in the United States now too. Like, this is an invasion. I hate that Hezbollah has the control that they do in southern Lebanon. But when you move the military,
and again, they put us in this fucking position where it's almost like, well, they come at us with this rhetoric of like, what are you defending Hezbollah? What are you defending the Iranian regime? It's like, absolutely fucking not. But again, you guys have us in this position where it almost sounds like that, right? But no, we're just calling out the nature of the illegalities, the unconstitutional nature of the fucking war going on, the danger posed to the globe, that you guys have started off and kicked off here, the danger to the economy. Again, how you guys skirted around Congress to again enact this war in the first place. Again, the war crimes that have been committed by our government. It's like, these are the things that we're talking about. And believe me, the Iranian regime, no friend of anybody's. No, definitely no friend of ours. And again, the Hezbollah, no friend of ours, no friend of anybody here. But that doesn't mean that this isn't something that needs to be covered and talked about as far as the ever-growing nature of this war that Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu are directly responsible for.
One nation into the sovereign territory of another nation, like, that's what it is. It's part of a war. What we're doing in Iran right now is a war. What Russia is doing in Ukraine right now is a war. That's not a special military operation. It just muddies the water. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. So the defense minister was quoted in the Jerusalem Post. They said, following the 91st Division's dramatic push into southern Lebanon against Hezbollah, Defense Minister Katz on Monday said that the military would turn the villages there into a wasteland like Gaza.
Oh, and you can thank Donald Trump for fucking making that possible. Okay? Literally from the words of the leadership there, we're going to turn southern Lebanon into a wasteland like Gaza. Okay. So again, if you're curious what you're going to expect, what you're going to see from this, if they're doing just like this, standard military operation to make sure that they take out the leadership of Hezbollah and to make sure that they don't, kill any civilian in the area, even though about 1 million people in Lebanon have already been displaced to this point, and I'm sure that number is growing by the second, considering what we're looking at on the screen and the intent that is shown on the screen here. We're going to turn the southern Lebanon into a wasteland like Gaza, says Katz. So again, just to show you that this is now given tacit permission to the Israeli leadership, to the IDF, to take these actions. Like, this has now been a green light given by Donald Trump by saying yes to this whole fucking thing that he now cannot stop. He now does not have the ability, doesn't have the balls or the control over fucking Benjamin Netanyahu or Israel to make this shit stop. So again, if you thought that this was going to be over in a couple weeks, if you thought this was going to be, all of a sudden Donald Trump was going to pull us out and everything was going to go back to normal, think again. Because Israel's got totally different fucking goals in mind, and they have no alignment whatsoever with our interest here in the United States. Whatsoever. And every dollar should be stopped going to them fucking immediately. Absolutely. Especially when you have continued leadership talking just like this, where they're threatening another genocide, right? Threatening another fucking Gaza. We've seen the pictures of Gaza. We covered Gaza, extensively. The damage seen there, the death toll, the destruction, the war crimes. And now we're going to see that in southern Lebanon here. And we're just kicking this off. Who knows what comes from that, what the secondary impacts of that are. And we just continue down this fucking road in this path of degradation that we weren't seeing before this, okay? As fucked up, as unstable, right? As crazy as we think, the politics and religion and the wars going on in the Middle East were before this, this is fucking far and away worse and more destabilized and uncontrollable than anything that we were faced while the Ayatollah was still actively in negotiations with the United States. And that's just fucking fact. There's no other way to go about seeing that, okay? And as much as Donald Trump loves to say that he's in control of this, things like this, statements like this, and actions like this clearly show that he is fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. And again, I hate to fucking bring it up and I hate to talk about it in those terms, but we have to be fucking real about this because they're speaking about it in these terms. That means we have to speak about it in these terms. They're not beating around the bush. They're not fucking lying to people as what they're, for what they're trying to commit, their goals and intentions are. So we have to take it for fucking face value, at face value for what they're saying. That's their intent, is to create another Gaza, another wasteland in southern Lebanon, and to keep it moving from there. The whole greater Israel, right? Again, let's dive on before I get too fucking pissed off. I don't want to get too pissed off on St. Patrick's Day. You know what I mean? We keep it light here. We're gonna keep it light. Try to, at least, because I know it's impossible to do so. But again, this just shows here. Let's dive onto this because OSINT Defender clearly details, as he's been doing, the ability of the Iranians to continue to strike back, to continue to not only hit the bases and hit ships, but hit different allied areas as well. We just saw recently, what was it? Yeah, did you guys see this? Let me show this before I even throw that one on there. Do you guys see this one here? Why was that muted? Anyway, sorry that was muted. My apologies. But before I even throw that OSINT Defender clip on, did you guys see this where we actually have drones flying around U.S. bases? This is another Preston Stewart video, and we just have to dive into the 2 seconds of this. Listen to the first couple minutes of this. First couple seconds, I mean.
We now have enemy drones flying over U.S. positions in the Middle East. So
does it keep muting me? I don't understand that. The mute button keeps getting popped on here. All right, but this is crazy because check this out.
So today, we're going to provide some options to our service members downrange to help them mitigate this threat with what they have available on hand. No groundbreaking new technology or training necessary.
Literally what you're seeing on your screen now is a drone, an enemy drone, just freely flying over a base in, I believe it's Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the Liberty base in Iraq. And it's just clearly flying over the base, willy-nilly, freely flying over until it decides to run itself into one of the buildings there on the base. Right? So clearly we're now seeing much more like Ukraine-based activity as far as FPV drones. What if they start initiating these to a large degree as far as over the U.S. bases, attacking U.S. bases, whether it's Iran or the Iranian proxies somewhere else in the established region? I mean, this is fucking crazy. This is crazy, and goes to show that we absolutely do not have this full control that Pete Hegseth loves to tell you that we have. Donald Trump loves to tell you that we have. This clearly does not state to me that we have like full control over airspace, Iranian military capabilities whatsoever, their proxies in the area. We talked about on the last show how not only is the Strait of Hormuz a big fucking talking point, but the strait to the south there between Oman and what was the other one there? And Eritrea, as it leads to the Suez Canal, is also something that the Iranian proxies and the Houthis could definitely start attacking. And if they control that, they can control 12% of the global shipping that goes through the Suez Canal, which is, again, going to lead to higher prices for you. Not only that, but consistently higher prices being paid at the pump also affects the shipping. They're paying more to now put their ships at sea. They're now paying more to put their fucking planes in the air. All of that adds up to you guys paying more, not only at the pump, but at the grocery store, at the fucking clothing store, at the shoe store, all of it. Because all of that shit travels by plane, by train, by automobile, by ship to get here. All of those things need fuel. Fuel is more expensive. Goods become more expensive. It's pretty easy to see. But again, when you got video like this, just clearly showing the fucking drones willy-nilly. I mean, this is more along the lines of what you'd see in Ukraine, right? This is what we're used to seeing in Ukraine, just FPV drones flying willy-nilly around, capturing video. It's already been kind of reported on that the White House, that the Pentagon was using Ukrainian footage from Ukrainian drone teams taking out Russian Shahed drones as their own footage, trying to pass it off as if it was the U.S. military that was taking down those drones over Iran or over one of the allied nations, which it just was not. Again, another aspect in which they're trying to propagandize you to believe that they have more control over the situation than they actually do. But this clearly right here, this video showing FPV drones just flying over U.S. bases in the area. And again, whether or not they were put on alert, I think Preston kind of points out that it doesn't look like there's anybody, out and about on the base. So whether the base was evacuated, whether the base was kind of put on alert and everybody was inside is unknown, maybe known to us right now. I don't know if it was reported on yet. But again, this is not a good sign. This is not a sign to see that to show that you guys are in full control and that United States service members are no longer in danger. And again, this whole video, Preston's whole video here, is talking to U.S. troops about how they can protect themselves. Look at the title on the video. The threat is here: how U.S. troops can protect themselves today. So he basically is going on in this video to talk about how U.S. troops stationed on these bases can use just like whatever they have around them, like stuff that you would likely find on a U.S. base, to further protect themselves, whether it's, barriers, whether it's electronic warfare gear, whatever it may be, stuff that they have readily available to themselves, depending on the unit, depending on where you're stationed, of course. But this is now a YouTuber, no shade thrown here, a fantastic YouTuber with great military insight. I don't, right hand up, I don't know his background. Seems to me like he has a military background. I really haven't dug into it. But, it just seems to me the way he talks, the way he speaks about things, his knowledge about these types of things, that he does have some sort of military background. But even he here, as a YouTuber, is having to come on social media to talk to the troops to be like, okay, I know the leadership doesn't have your back. I know you're not being properly defended. I know the interceptors are running low, which is something that we'll talk about. Israel continues to be fucking very wary of the amount of interceptors they have, as does the surrounding, regions. So again, that's another aspect of this. How long can they hold out? Seems like, the more that Iran continues to shoot missiles into Tel Aviv, into, other areas of Israel, they continue to have more success to penetrate the Iron Dome. Again, with the help of Russia, with the help of China, picking out targets, getting their intelligence and how they can get around these air defenses, utilizing that to the best degree. But this is crazy to me that we have, a YouTuber on here being like, hey, watch this video. If you're stationed in the Middle East, this is what you can do to further protect yourself from these FPV threats that seem to be a bigger and bigger threat by the day here. because obviously it doesn't look like the leadership has your back. The leadership doesn't seem to be, defending against this, doesn't seem to be pushing for, more material or more defenses or more barriers to be put into these bases at all. So again, it's crazy to have to look at how unprepared and all the miscalculations that we continue to see by the United States fucking leadership as far as undertaking this war and the side effects from that and how to mitigate those side effects. It's just like we're playing from fucking 10 steps behind at every turn. And again, the OSINT defender, which I wanted to jump into, they do a great job of kind of detailing at least the ability that Iran still has. Even though what you're hearing from Pete Hegseth, even though what you're hearing from Donald Trump is the complete opposite. They have no military capabilities. All the missiles have been taken out. The drone threat is no more. Meanwhile, we continue to see shit like this. We continue to see the Saudi Ministry of Defense reporting that they had to intercept and destruct 8 one-way attack drones launched by Iran. You know what I mean? Again, just detailing that they do still have the capabilities. They do still have the ability to affect some change here. So again, this goes on here to talk about how the Saudi Ministry of Defense, Iran has launched 56 drones overnight, estimated obviously, and continues to launch drones at Saudi Arabia's highly profitable Shaiba oil field in other areas of the country. Again, just detailing that they still do have military capabilities. They still do have the ability to shoot drones and missiles, as we'll continue to see here, just kind of flying up from some of the things that Trump has posted here, which is just absolutely friggin' crazy. He's been going on a roll here trying to defend Mark Levin, just basically everything and other than being a leader. But, he's just talking about everything other than that. And then we'll get into this little meeting that he had here, which is kind of stupid. I don't know if anybody saw that where he kind of revealed how'd this kind of fall over? Hold on. Sorry. My apologies. I don't know why that keeps happening. Stay. How's that? Is that good? That better? How's that? Sorry. I don't know. I think I may have kicked it under the table. My apologies. All right. But yeah, as we go on here to kind of detail Iran's abilities, that's kind of what this is made to do. We don't have to go through any of the Trump clips because I have that coming up anyway, as far as that's concerned. But here's another one. Explosions and air defense activity reported in the last few minutes over Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. That was 19 hours ago, as reported here. We continue on. This goes to talk about, again, other aspects and dangers posed to our military service members. Apparently, there was a fire on the Gerald Ford USS aircraft carrier that they had to fight for over 30 hours. A small fire that started in the ship's main laundry area spread through ventilation to several other areas of the ship, including multiple berthings, with more than 600 sailors and other crew members having lost their beds in the fire and since been bunking down on floors and tables throughout the ship, officials tell the New York Times. Again, just some of the struggles faced there. Again, some of the dangers posed by just going to war in general. Doesn't necessarily have to be, by design, by the enemy taking you out. Like there's also things and accidents that happen all the fucking time as far as warfare is concerned. Sorry, let me get in the middle of that one. But yeah, you can continue to see the aspects here. There's another one, a counter-rocket artillery mortar system, a CRAM, attempting to engage an Iranian one-way drone during attacks on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. So again, specific targets that they're going after here. Check out this video.
طقت هناك هناك طقت.
So, and that comes out of, again, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Just kind of, again, detailing the lies told to you by Pete Hegseth, by Donald Trump. Reports of a strike on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad here. Check this out.
معالجة وقعد ضربت.
So again, you can clearly see the strike in the background. You can see the CRAM go up in the background right there. You can just catch a little bit of the CRAM going up over that guy's right shoulder, but inevitably you can't see a strike in the background. Just kind of detailing, again, not only the effectiveness, but again, their ability to continue to launch on these targets. Successful interception of at least one Iranian Shahed 136 by an American counter-rocket, the CRAM that we talked about during tonight's attack on the embassy. Here's, again, a successful takedown. See if we can take that out.
هاي راح تضرب الفندق، ضربت الفندق. هاي.
Jesus.
وقعت.
So you can see the C-Ram taken out. It looks like the debris and what's left of it afterwards kind of impacts the ground. But again, we detail this just not to praise, obviously, but obviously just to kind of detail the lies that you're being told and how the events on the ground, the reality on the ground is nothing like what Donald Trump is telling you, nothing like what Pete Hegseth is trying to convey to you, nothing like what Benjamin Netanyahu would love you to believe is going on in these areas. Here's another one, I think, from the same strike on the embassy in Baghdad following reports of at least 2 drone impacts at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Smoke can be seen rising from the embassy campus. Additional reports also indicate that the drones impacted despite the emplaced counter-rocket artillery and mortar systems' active efforts. At the time of writing, it seems that the attack may have been more substantial than the past strikes on the embassy since the start of the conflict. So again, just depicting not only did the C-Ram go up and try to take down these drones, but they were able to get through that. So let's see if we can take a look at this video here. I think it's only a quick 10-second video. So again, you can see smoke rising from the embassy. Not sure if that blur is something on the screen or if that's intentional. Again, not sure why they'd be kind of blurring the site out if we know exactly what was hit. Here's more footage showing a drone attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad today. An emplaced counter-rocket, as we talked about, the C-Ram system can be seen actively engaging air threats before yet another impact can be seen. So again, another one squirts through here, as we can see here in this video.
عبرت بابا طقت.
And again, as we talk about the capabilities being completely wiped out, as far as Donald Trump loves to have you tell, we just show this to detail that is not the case. Okay, not only is it not the case, but they seem to be having more effectiveness. They seem to be having, more capabilities of getting through the air defense systems, not only surrounding U.S. bases, not only surrounding the embassies, but also the ships, also inside of Israel as well. Some more footage coming out of the attack on the embassy in Baghdad. Footage shows an impact of an Iranian one-way drone attack right outside the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Let's see if we can take a look at this.
صوت مسيرة يا شباب. يلا وين
You can hear the drone steadily getting closer. That's a fucking eerie noise. C-Ram goes up. Drone still coming in. Impact. And again, just in case you're just joining us, we're looking at some footage from the attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Again, as Pete Hegseth and everybody else on the Republican side loves to tell you that this was over in 2 days. Here's an Iranian Shahed 136 seen flying low over the Iraqi capital of Baghdad before being engaged by an American counter rocket. Let me see if this is during the it was during the attack, the same attack there. Let's check this So again, just another Shahed being engaged there by the C-Ram over the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Footage shows a near direct impact on the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad during tonight's Iranian drone attack against the capital of Iraq. Let's see if we can dive into that one. And again, it's hard to tell how many actual impacts it took there. I don't know if it's been reported to this date yet, but it's hard to tell if this is, multiple angles of the same strike or if you're seeing one strike twice. So it's kind of hard to detail just exactly how many times it was struck directly. But American counter-rocket, the CRAM here, expends several hundred rounds attempting to intercept Iranian Shahed 136 during the same attack. There's another little bit of footage from that attack. Again, just unbelievable chaos by these assholes, unleashed by these assholes, I should say. Let's see here if we've missed anything else. This is authorities in the United Arab Emirates report they're responding to a fire at the Fujairah oil industrial zone following a drone attack tonight by Iran. Again, that was 17 hours ago. Multiple explosions heard over Dubai in the UAE. According to the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Defense, in the past 8 hours, they have tracked and intercepted 33 Iranian drones in the eastern region of the country. Again, detailing the capabilities that they still have under their control. The United Kingdom here, we'll talk about Donald Trump and him getting pissed off at NATO and saying that he has the ability to withdraw from NATO without the congressional approval, which is just absolutely false. But we go on here. Let's see here. Maritime risk. According to the Lebanese army, after an Israeli airstrike and the area, the soldiers were injured. One soldier lost his life due to the injuries. Israel has announced they have eliminated two principal Iranian decision makers, Ali Laranjani and Basij commander. I'm not going to try to say that name. Soleimani is his last name, who was secretary to the Iran's Supreme Security Council and who presided over the recent deadly crackdowns on Iranian protesters, played key roles in the current Iranian ruling framework. We go on. There's another one. The UAE Ministry of Defense so far today, air defenses have engaged 10 ballistic missiles, again, above and beyond the drone capabilities, 45 one-way attack drones launched by Iran in one of the largest daily attacks since the first week of the Iran war. And they go on to detail exactly how many they've had to intercept and take out there. Again, showing that this is an ever-growing conflict as opposed to Donald Trump telling you that it's going to be, ramping down and that we've already won this. It's already complete. If you ask him. But again, more of this goes on. Here's more from the U.S. Embassy attack. And I think we may be getting up to the current day. Yeah, here's where Joe Kent is. Joe Kent's letter of resignation. We'll be getting into that in just a minute, too. But I think that pretty much details, a little bit or some of the strikes. Here's some of the air raid alerts across central and northern Israel following the detected launch of ballistic missiles from Iran. And you can detail, you can see here, detail just how many people are under that threat right now. But yep, as Donald Trump loves to say, even when he was meeting with the Irish PM today, that he's not afraid of anything. They've won. This was over in the second day. Just a bunch of absolute horseshit. But speaking of absolute horseshit, I'm dying to know what you guys think of this situation, okay? What is going on with Bibi Netanyahu? And I appreciate you guys for watching the Blunt Politics podcast. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, and only with your help, we're going to be able to get there. So thank you guys. Thank you to the mods. I appreciate everybody contributing. I see we're at 7 so far. We're trying to get to 20 super chats by the end of the show, and we're going to try to get a shout out from Ken Casey, from the Dropkick Murphys, to the fantastic chat and community that we've built here. So again, if we can get up to 20 by the end of the show, we'll see if we can get that done. We'll see if we can get that for you guys. But I'm dying to know what you guys think here, because boy, oh boy, has the internet been on fire. I know we talked about this the other day, as far as I believe it was the coffee shop video that he had put out. People have been speculating and pulling these videos apart, and for good reason. Because there are a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of things that don't make much sense. Why he'd be able to put these videos out but not attend his little, war cabinet meetings that he's known for being at. Somebody that loves being in front of the spotlight, somebody that loves being in front of the cameras, especially at a time where they're trying to talk about the Ayatollah's son as being underground, as being possibly dead, as being possibly disfigured, as Donald Trump loves to say. They want to present themselves as being strong alpha people out there in front of, the crowds and out there touring the bomb sites and not being underground. But again, this isn't kind of letting to any credibility. And I do believe that his Twitter put out another video this morning of Netanyahu detailing the death that we just talked about of some of the Iranian officials. Again, I'm sure the internet is going to have its way with that. So again, I'm not a detective. I'm not an inspector. I don't do the whole internet detective work very well as far as that stuff's concerned, and putting it through software and running it through AI. I just kind of wait till the professionals do their thing, and then we report on it. But again, people are definitely calling this out, and I can see why. Here's just one of the recent videos that was put out by Netanyahu. And again, if you look on his finger here, I'll even get out of the way. But look at his hand here. Look at his left hand. And we're just going to go back just a second here, right? Look at what's on his hand now. You can clearly see a wedding ring on this guy's fucking hand here. But again, as you move it forward, seems to just kind of disappear right in front of your face. Let me see if I can move it. There you go. It's already gone right there. So it's there. It's there. It's not there. It's there. It's not there. Okay. Not on his finger right there. Nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. People have been talking about his hair. People have been talking about his skin, his nose, his teeth, the amount of fingers he's got, the amount of toes he's got, the amount of fucking testicles or non-testicles he's got. They've been talking about everything. People have been ripping these videos apart. And like I said, for good reason. None of it adds up. Why is he here? Why is he at these spots? Why is he not where he's supposed to be? Again, why is it kind of definitively said by a lot of people that have run this through some software that it is almost definitely AI that they were trying to use? Like, what the fuck is going on, right? I don't know. Like I said, it's tough to keep up to speed on all of this. But again, the internet's been on fire. Again, with the coffee shop video that he put out, the coffee not spilling, the pocket jumping over his hand. Again, the way that his skin looks, the whole fucking 9 yards. I know a lot of people have speculated that on the register it says 2024. There's a whole lot of these things going around out there, and people, trying to confirm or not confirm. It's gone both ways so far. But again, I don't know. Are they covering up for the fact that he may be injured? Are they covering up for the fact that he may be lying next to Charlie Kirk somewhere in hell? One can only hope, right? I only want to know because I got 2 bottles of champagne, as we were talking about last night in the Patreon Zoom. Shout out to the Patreon Zoom. Appreciate you guys for joining me last night in the old hangout. Good to see you. But again, we talked about having 2 bottles of champagne ready to go, ready to rock and fucking roll. And I wanted the confirmation on when I can pop at least one of those bottles. Okay. I just want to know. But again, I'll show you here the one that they posted recently. I think, yeah, here's the one. Yeah, this is the last one that they posted, I want to say. Or did they post again? Here's one with Mike Huckabee that they just posted 2 hours ago. Crossing off names on the list is good. Doing it shoulder to shoulder with our American friends is better. Good to see Ambassador Mike Huckabee. So again, like I said, I'm not he does look fucking Jesus Christ. He looks like Tim Allen. He looks like Tim Allen as the fucking fake Santa in the Santa Claus. You know, in like, what is that? Santa Claus 2 or 3? I forget now. But where they remake him into like a plastic Santa Claus. And he comes out with like the fake hair and obviously the fake skin and shit. Like that's what these fucking videos remind me of. Like the hair, the skin. He just looks like a fake Tim Allen Santa at this point. But again, this was the one. This is the video that I was talking about, announcing the death of Ali Laranjani there. But I'm sure people are going to do their their diligence, do their digging into what. And again, like I said, how many fingers he's got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. How many teeth he got? I don't know. He's got 2 ears. We'll figure it out at some point. I'm sure people are going to be speculating on when this was, who it was, what he said. And we'll be sure to report. But I want to know what you guys think. Have you been keeping up on this at all? Do you believe this cover-up going on? Do you believe something happened to him? Do you believe he's okay? What do you guys think? What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. All right, let's dive on to this one because we continue to use different people that are not friend of the show in any aspect that we pretty much don't have any respect for. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people like Tucker Carlson, their rhetoric and their going against Donald Trump now is beneficial to our side, but we also have to make sure to recognize that these people are degenerate assholes and are directly responsible for the situation that we're in now, the position that we're in now, and the government that we have now. But it is beneficial to use these people and say, hey, look, These were MAGA sycophants. These were people, fucking put up on a pedestal. Tucker Carlson being like the golden boy as far as the MAGA media figure on Fox News. Obviously the rest of these assholes you can say as well. Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's no need to kind of detail how much she was a sycophant for MAGA. It continues to be in a lot of regards. Again, not to let these people off the hook by any stretch of the imagination, but again, to use it for our political benefit, for political expediency, to show that even these sycophants are now starting to see some daylight at the end of the tunnel as far as being able to call out Donald Trump, whether it be for the Epstein files, whether it be for the war in Iran, whether it be for what he's doing to the economy, whether it's for the killing of American citizens in broad daylight on the streets of this country, whatever it may be for. They're all kind of, well, not all, I don't want to say, but some of them are starting to speak out, and we need to use those people in order to kind of get our point across. And this is just another aspect of that. Here is Lawrence Wilkerson. I believe he was a former colonel, if I'm not mistaken, somebody who definitely spouts Russian propaganda. Definitely believes that it was Joe Biden's fault that Russia started the war in Ukraine. It was the United States' fault, and it was Ukraine's fault. For kind of getting on the territory, for going closer to the territorial borders of Russia. All the bullshit that we know. He continues to spew that, continues to think that. But again, on the same regard, he's out here kind of pummeling Donald Trump. Kind of making Donald Trump look like a fool, kind of telling it how it is as far as Donald Trump's incompetencies and the dangers posed by what he started now in Iran and with Israel. Here's just one of the aspects. This was a few days ago, and he was talking about how Israel is getting pummeled, right? That you're not hearing about it. Benjamin Netanyahu's not talking about it if he's alive. The Israeli government to a large extent is not talking about how hard they've been getting hit. We continue to try to show you guys with clips from OSINT Defender and other news articles and news clips that they do still have the ability, Iran, to strike inside of Israel, to get through the Iron Dome, to get through the United States air defense systems around the bases that we have there, the allied air defense systems that they have set up. They do still have these capabilities. I know I sound like a broken record, but it is just completely, it's completely against what we're hearing from our government. So we need to continue to highlight that. But here he is, calling it as it is, telling you that Israel is getting pummeled, and that they definitely need to be worried, and that this isn't going, rainbows and sunshine for everybody over there.
And in the latter stages of this 15-minute video, you could see that fewer and fewer air defense missiles were going up. And at the end of it, in the last 60 seconds, which is a long time, Judge, if you're under fire, there were no Israeli missiles going up. The Iranian missiles were just getting in.
Wow.
And again, he's on with another non-friend of the show. What's his name? Andrew Napolitano there, the judge, so-called judge.
It's all being lied about, of course. You can't get this out. You can't even get it out of Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya. They're not allowed to film this sort of thing because he's got a wrapped down tight ban on anybody coming in there and making film other than his own propaganda people.
And he being Benjamin Netanyahu, talking about, again, the control they have over the media, the control that they have over the news that gets out, what's reported on, how it's reported on. So again, you see here that not only from this, I think this was somewhat 10 days ago now, almost. This was March 7th, I believe. So again, we continue to see that Iran has similar, if not the same, if not or more capabilities to strike inside Israel to make sure that they continue to hit these targets that they did some 10 days ago. So again, just to show you how, the lies are stacking up and that we're not winning this as far as Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth would like to have you believe. Again, these are just little aspects, little pieces of evidence to detail that. And he was on again with Napolitano and had this to say. Let me see if I can throw this on your screen, because there's a couple parts in this too. There, he comes right after Donald Trump, pretty much telling you that Donald Trump is an idiot. He's incompetent, that he has no exit strategy here. He's been led into a war by Benjamin Netanyahu. All things that we believe to be true. But again, coming from a guy that is just a sycophant in every other regard for not only this administration, but again, for Russian propaganda, for Putin and against Ukraine. So it's funny to see that even these assholes are to some extent decide at some point they sound like us, right? The same people they can't stand as far as liberals and progressives, right? They somehow come to the same conclusion on some things, on some situations, on some aspects. And they can't help it because that is just what reality is telling us. That's just what's being shown on the ground right now, is that these fucking, these leaders, as far as Netanyahu and Trump, are absolutely incompetent. and have nothing but a bloodlust and no exit strategy in mind here. And I know that Israel's goals and actions are in no way aligned with our benefit here as United States citizens. But here he is. We're just going to play a couple parts in this where he's kind of giving it to Donald Trump as far as this Iran war is concerned.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And I think Donald Trump, if by osmosis only, must be absorbing some of that. I think Bibi's trying to keep him in a close embrace, as close as he can keep him, because he knows if Trump does do the sensible thing and declare victory and stop, then Bibi's caught. He's left in a mess. Israel is being ripped apart right now, and Iran has not even used its most sophisticated missiles yet. It's being very smart. It's husbanding them for the real target, which ultimately is Israel. So he's right. And I don't know if Trump's getting that.
So again, this is him really talking about how Benjamin Netanyahu wants to keep Donald Trump on the hook here. He doesn't want Donald Trump to declare victory. He doesn't want Donald Trump to pull out. Pause. He doesn't want Donald Trump to, to take all the U.S. forces out of the area because it's going to leave Netanyahu in a lurch. You know what I mean? It's going to leave him with fucking, he's going to be up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, so to speak. So he's pretty spot on with this, what he's talking about here as far as calling out Trump. But again, coming from this asshole, it's politically expedient for us to use his words against Donald Trump more so than us calling him out, because nobody's going to listen to us, right? If you're on the other side, they're just going to call you a dumb lib. They're going to call you, whatever, progressive, whatever you call yourself, right? They're just going to fucking shun you out. But again, when it comes from these people, they may be more apt to listen to somebody on, who is at the same time spewing Russian propaganda, who is saying this shit. So again, I feel like it's for the people on the outskirts, the people that still can be bought, the people that still can be, have their minds changed, and that's now starting to see the light in some regard, are more apt to listen to people like this, which is why we play the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Tucker Carlsons, the Piers Morgans that have called Trump out to whatever extent that they're willing to call him out. You know what I mean?
That symbol. I don't know if he's getting that message. I don't know if he's understanding just what he's walked himself into. If he keeps talking about ground troops and he even moves remotely towards that possibility, we're in deep kimchi with which we will not withdraw until we spent several $1 trillion, kill thousands and thousands of people, and we will make Afghanistan and Iraq look like cakewalks.
Again, pretty direct terms, pretty specific things that he's calling out, and pretty specific dangers that are now posed by Donald Trump's actions, by these actions, by this war in general. And he goes on. Let me see if I can pull up the transcript. Because in this transcript, he goes on to just kind of repeatedly, talk about Donald Trump's, here he is. Let me show you this part. Because they go on to play a clip from Alyssa Slotkin, and I just want to show you in detail how much he's not a friend of this show and how he's still an asshole and still spews Russian propaganda. Listen to this. This is, again, after they play a clip from Alyssa Slotkin.
But I would say back to her where I'm in front of her face at that moment and able to do so. Were you thinking about all of this when Joe Biden started this mess in Europe in the first place? Were you considering what you were doing when he started this in Europe in the first place? Were you considering what you were doing when your president, Joe Biden, took the United States well beyond its promises to Russia in the beginning, and even into the point of sticking its finger in Russia's eye in a country that was existentially threatening Russia, and which both its foreign minister and its leader, Putin, told you a dozen times 5 or 6 years before you did all this?
So again, blatant and obvious Russian propaganda, blatant and pure fucking talking points that would come directly from the Kremlin. The whataboutisms talking about Joe Biden creating the war in Europe. Like, where is this guy? I mean, again, I just detail this to show you that this is no friend of the show. This is not somebody that we're patting on the back. This is not somebody that we're complimenting. We're just using his rhetoric. We're using his ability, or his, willingness at least, to call out Donald Trump and the realities of what we're facing on the ground here as far as Iran is concerned, and the dangers posed to us by that against Donald Trump and the GOP. I want to make it very clear that, again, we recognize who these people are. We are not, again, trying to rehabilitate their image in any way, shape, or form. They are complete and total fucking propagandist assholes, morons, degenerates, scumbags. But again, in this regard, their willingness to call out Donald Trump can be beneficial to our side. And he goes on here. I'll just fast forward to any point. I'm sure he's calling out Trump
against a resilient power like Iran certainly is, and becoming more so every day. He almost invites escalation to ground troops. I listened to John Mearsheimer with Chris Hedges this morning. I think John's absolutely right. We're on the escalation ladder now, and Trump is an incompetent ladder climber.
I mean, that's pretty, you don't need to beat around the bush as far as that's concerned. I don't think anybody listening to that is like, I wonder what he actually means by that. So we're on the escalation ladder, as we detailed by, Israel's ground incursion into Lebanon, the nearly 1 million plus people that have already been displaced before that ground incursion even took place. Right. But now he's talking about Donald Trump being the most incompetent person to be in charge of that. And now we're on the escalation ladder. And now we're looking to fucking Donald Trump to have the balls, or to have the brains, at least, as he's talking about here, to get us the fuck out of this before it gets, even worse, before it gets to a point where, it's almost unfathomable at this point.
Is General Grinkowicz, I may be mispronouncing his name, Grinkowicz,
I think that's right.
in danger of being fired for saying what he said under oath and in public? It contradicts the very
on here,
which is even more frivolous. Number one, Chris.
What information did you have that Iran was about to carry out an imminent attack?
One good indication was that for 47 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel. Believe it.
Yeah, but that's 47 years, but why that day?
And they were ramping up their capabilities with the ballistic missiles.
So again, this is both the judge and this guy calling out their fucking bullshit, calling out, they're literally playing an NBC clip here to use that against the Trump administration for their bullshit. Right? They're not believing that we are under imminent threat. There was no imminent threat, as they go on to say here. There was no attack that was planned on United States soil before Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu decided to fucking strike Iran. Right? We weren't in any of this bullshit. It wasn't anywhere near the fucking level right now that it was, before we started undertaking this war.
They're stringing along the negotiations. They always lie. Listen to your negotiators. They'll tell you the truth. They're stringing them along. They always lie, and it was an imminent threat. And we removed that imminent threat.
I still don't understand what the imminent threat was, that they were going to attack Israel, attack American bases, attack the U.S. An imminent threat of what?
All of the above. All of the above. They were threatening.
Oh, yeah, everything you just said.
They're shooting at all their immediate neighbors. All the mask.
In retaliation, they think we're fucking so stupid too. What's his face was doing this. Witkoff was doing this. Mike Johnson was doing the same thing, trying to point out the strikes on the bases, the strikes in retaliation, strikes that weren't happening prior to us launching a fucking, strikes on Iran, launching a war against Iran, strikes that were not happening. 13 at this point, right? Am I still correct in that, or has it gone up since then? I believe 13 U.S. service members that would still be alive, that were alive while the negotiations were taking place, that are not alive now, because of what Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have undertaken. So it's ridiculous to think that you can continuously say that it is the retaliatory strikes that are now being used as the justification for the original war starting. That's just, again, back ass words in every fucking regard.
It was revealed. These guys, it's a death cult. They not only called and killed Americans for 47 years and Israelis for 47 years, now they're killing their neighbors.
Colonel, this is political pabulum. This is not identifying and articulating a serious threat. Back to my question of whether you think Bibi forced Trump's hand, as Rubio said, or whether the attack 2 Friday nights ago had been planned all along.
I think they attacked as planned all along. You don't do something like this as extensive as Israel is using its military power unless you.
And that's exactly what we've been saying too, right? That the negotiations were all bullshit. The negotiations were never to get a deal. The negotiations were just to string the Iranian regime along until they were ready to strike. And this continues to prove our point. Again, people that have military knowledge, as much as they're fucking misusing that, as much as they've been brainwashed, in this regard, it's pretty clear to see that this was an action planned for quite some time, and that these negotiations were never in order to get a deal, never in good faith whatsoever, and that this was going to be an action undertaken no matter what, at some point, no matter fucking what.
You planned it, and you planned it for a while. Those comments were just so vapid. That's the best word for them. We're looking at a situation now where you have to ask yourself, does Trump have the gumption? Does he have the capability even to walk away from this? Or as John said this morning, John Mearsheimer, is he on the escalation ladder with his inevitable next step being the next step on the ladder, and then the next, and then the next, leading to probably a couple of $1 trillion, untold casualties, devastation in the region, maybe a wider war, maybe the use of nuclear weapons, and no result from it other than a similar result to that which we obtained on a lesser scale in Afghanistan. This is,
again, all of that is more likely than us ever seeing some like achievable goal in which would benefit the United States at all. Okay. All of what he just said is much more likely to happen. Escalation, a wider conflict, more nations getting involved, something that can't be stopped, broader as far as missiles being launched, as far as fucking nuclear threats are concerned. All of that is much more likely than Donald Trump ever getting to us to a point where anything beneficial to the United States is taking place. Again, as we've been talking about, do you think if your fucking sister, if your wife, if your niece, your nephew, and your father were just murdered by the United States, you'd be willing to what? Hop to the negotiation table, skip into the negotiation table, ready to work with the United States, ready to say, yes, I am willing not to have nuclear weapons, nuclear capabilities? Because right now, seemingly the only way that you could possibly fucking, 100% guarantee that the United States isn't going to fuck with you, it seems to be that you need nuclear weapons. Okay? That is just the message being pushed out there by this war. You got Kim Jong-un up there laughing his fucking ass off like, he's already in the fucking clear. Nobody's busting his balls with his military actions, with his fucking, training exercises and launching nuclear capable missiles all over the fucking place. Nobody seems to give a shit about that. But it's the people that don't have them yet that are now going to be rushing to have either nuclear weapons or the most drastic capabilities they could possibly have in order to have the best negotiating stance against the United States when inevitably we come knocking on their fucking door.
Just, you can't make this stuff up. This is walking down, as Barbara Tuchman said about 1914, walking down the road to war with wooden-headed people engaged in folly. And the most
walking down the road to war with wooden-headed people.
Wooden-headed one of all is President of the United States.
And the most wooden head of all is the President of the United States, he says.
How dangerous for the average American living in the United States is this war, or can it become?
We were talking about the draft this morning and conscription and the impossibility of even getting the selective service system into shape within 6 to 8 months, and lots of money in order to draft people. And then how many young people would scoot the moment they heard that was going on, or maybe wait until it was active and then scoot. How would you ever manage a war in that region against 93 million people in a country as big as Western Europe, with the resolution now that those people have shown to take whatever is coming and dish it out back? And they haven't even, Judge, they haven't even dished out their third and fourth tier of missiles yet. They're saving those for Israel, I think. Think about Haifa and what they just did to the port of Haifa. Israel has no functional port right now. And if they want to make that steady and continuous, they can. I'm looking at missiles coming in. I'm looking at no missiles going up when I watch the videos. It's a situation of existential threat to Israel right now. So if they don't stop, and if Trump does mount that ladder and start up it, we're in this for the long haul, and it won't matter that Israel disappears, which I'm pretty sure it will. But in the long run, we will be kicked out of the Middle East. We will have no partners anywhere in that region. We will have a situation where our debt is spiraling out of control because we'll have to spend a couple of trillion on this war. This is pregnant with the possibility of, as that man said, or some man said, crossing the Rubicon. When Caesar crossed the Rubicon, the Republic was over and the empire began, but it didn't until civil wars went on.
And it's crazy to me that a guy that can be propagandized to the point of believing that Joe Biden and the United States and Ukraine were responsible for the Russian invasion, the full-scale Russian invasion that we've seen, and even the broader conflict that was happening before that, is and can still depict and can still see through the bullshit of Donald Trump into the reality of what we're facing now, just goes to show how incompetent the leadership is right now. Because even people as deluded as this asshole, right? Even people as fucking moronic as this asshole, that to believe the propaganda coming straight out of the Kremlin, not only believe it, but being out there reciting it. People that are best friends, people that are fucking advocates for Donald Trump, Napolitano, this asshole, they're no lefties, they're no liberals. They're definitely Trump stands. They're definitely fucking MAGItes themselves. And even they're, clear-headed enough to see what the fucking dangers here are to the United States, to the greater region, to the world writ large, right? So that's why we use these clips. That's why I think it's beneficial to use these assholes, against the leadership, against Donald Trump himself, because he has a more difficult time, much like he is now with the resignation. What do you say we'll dive into that right now? The resignation here by Joe Kent. So he's having a difficult time the same way he does when anybody that was close, that he praised before, that he hired himself, gets fired, resigns, does something against Donald Trump. He has to come out and talk about how, they were never a good guy, or they were weak here, or he didn't like him in this aspect. So again, it's more difficult for him to call out the people that have worked with him that call him assholes, all the people in his first administration. I mean, the list is probably 2 pages long of people that worked with him in his first administration that came out and said he was an incompetent fool, that he was a fucking dangerous, maniacal autocrat, that he wanted to be a dictator, that he's lost his fucking marbles. Again, I'm paraphrasing to a certain extent, but these are all things that people that have worked with him before, what was it, John Brennan, there's a whole list of people that have worked with him that said, hey, this guy shouldn't be anywhere near fucking power. He shouldn't even be near a hot dog stand in fucking New York City, never mind the White House. And so, again, the most recent one that we can talk about that people are talking about here is the top counterterrorism official, Joe Kent, resigning here. Again, too little, too late as far as I'm concerned. Again, there were multiple fucking steps taken. There were multiple signs that this was going on, that this was an illegal, unconstitutional act, and acts being undertaken by not only the United States, but the United States military under the leadership of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. So, again, too little, too late as far as I'm concerned. But here we can use it to our benefit. And let's highlight this. This is, again, just a quick clip detailing the resignation of Joe Kent and what that means.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We wanted to share this breaking news here with you as top counterterrorism official Joe Kent has resigned. We're learning this within the past hour here. Joe Kent, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, announced his resignation today, saying he cannot in good conscience back the Trump administration's war in Iran. Kent shared in a social media post saying Iran, quote, pose no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from...
Again, going directly against everything that is now being said by not only Israel, but also our government. The clip that we just showed on Napolitano, them calling out the Trump official trying to say that there was an imminent threat. Well, okay, here's a Trump official now resigning, the top counterterrorism official in the administration now resigning, that says there was absolutely no imminent threat posed to our nation. Okay, you can see where this would be a fucking problem for this administration. You can see why this would be a big sticking point as opposed to, I don't know, Chuck Schumer or fucking, somebody on the left, Rachel Maddow, just to pick a name out of, thin air. If they were to go against this, if they were to say there was no imminent threat, wouldn't really have the sway, wouldn't really have the news coverage to the extent that this does. And now this is putting pressure on Donald Trump, and he was questioned about it in his meeting this morning with the Irish PM, in which, let's play his kind of response to that right now. This is where he's questioned on the Joe Kent resignation, and let's see what he had for an answer in this one. I'm just kind of curious how he responded. I didn't get to see it I didn't see it beforehand. Shut up. Jesus Christ. Play when I tell you to play, for crying out loud. I didn't get to see it beforehand. I wanted to watch it with you guys is what I was trying to get out before I was so rudely interrupted by that reporter. All right, let's dive into it again. Here he is being questioned this morning about the resignation of Joe Kent.
Mr. President, your director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security.
Yeah, see, so he's a nice guy, but weak on security. Either that, he was strong on security, but a very weak guy. It's always something that Donald Trump has to call out that, he knew was in the background, but again, he let him stick around, he let him hang around, he let him get hired in the first place, but always knew there was something bad about Joe Kent. He always tried to make it seem like he was one step ahead of these people resigning, in which he's definitely not, and he's definitely on the back foot here, where again, an administration official coming out to say that there was no imminent threat is definitely not a good look for this president.
I didn't know him well.
And speaking of bad looks, what is going on upstairs here, brother? What the fuck are we doing, Chief? Why is all of a sudden your scalp looking as pink as a baby's arsehole when it was born? What is the deal?
But I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something.
You mean every country that's now, again, telling you to fuck off and basically giving you the middle finger as far as helping you in this regard, even though you don't need help. You need help, but you don't need help. We want everybody's help, but we don't need everybody's help. We don't necessarily care because we're the strongest military in the world, but it would be really nice if all the European nations and all the NATO allies decided to stand up and send their warships, but we don't need the warships. It's like you can't get the story straight.
About it. And many people, many of the greatest military scholars are saying for years that presidents should have taken out Iran because they wanted a nuclear weapon. They were.
But you already obliterated it. That was obliterated, right? Didn't you say just a few months ago that it was already taken care of? Nothing else to worry about here. Nothing to see here, folks. It's crazy how you're now using that as further justification for, again, getting us into this broader conflict.
We didn't do the attack. Or if I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent Boeing 757s over there? Loaded.
I mean, the one that made sure that we could fucking know exactly what was taking place with all of the uranium, with everything that was, taking place over there. We had people that were going to watch it. We had cameras in place. They had to do detailed reports. You're talking about that deal that you guys decided to terminate, and now we're in this position?
With cash.
So, again, that's him being questioned about the resignation. He tries to, again, obfuscate as much as he possibly can away from the fact that another administration official has come out and basically said that everything Donald Trump has said about this was an outright lie, and continues to be. So let's see if we can dive back into this real quick and see what else we can learn from this.
Israel and its powerful American lobby. There was no immediate comment from the White House. We do have his full statement here that I wanted to share with you, and I am going to ask my producer to get up on the screen. There it is. It says, President Trump, after much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. He goes on.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry about that. For some reason, when I go to play video, I think it might have to do with the vertical. It just keeps muting me automatically when I play a video. My apologies about that one. But again, what I'm talking about is the fact that this is a pretty damning resignation letter as far as Joe Kent is concerned. I mean, it pretty much goes against everything that Donald Trump is espousing as far as being the justification for this war and everything that we kind of, suspect as far as being the reasoning behind it, as far as Israel getting us involved, leading us by the nose into this, as far as there being no imminent threat to the United States. So I was just saying, sorry about that being muted. I don't know why it does that. I'm not hitting that button. I know that. But I'm just stating that this is pretty much a very damning resignation letter and goes against everything that, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are out there espousing and saying and using as justification for this broader conflict.
I want to say, early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was...
I mean, that's crazy right there. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to a swift victory. That was a lie, and in the same tactics the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women, we cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times, 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what you are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further toward decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve in your administration and to serve our great nation. Again, I don't know if it gets any more damning, really, than that. I don't think you're going to have an administration official that's going to resign and come out with a more damning resignation letter, unless it's, again, just releasing the Epstein files inside the resignation letter. But this is a pretty damning a letter here towards Donald Trump, and saying that, again, it's even mealy-mouthed in the way that it's trying to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt, and saying that he still has the ability to get out of this, or he still could, it wasn't really him. It was more of a broader Israel plot that the media was involved. No, this is Donald Trump's stupidity, ignorance, and inability to see reality right now that are directly, resulting in what we're seeing right now. That's why. So again, as much as he tries to give him credit there at the end and try to make it seem like, hey, I kind of, I still have some respect towards you and I believe that you can get us out of this if you want to, I don't think that's even a possibility at this point. So even as damning as it is, I still think to a certain aspect, he has a little bit of, Trump derangement syndrome still attached to that. But again, let's throw this clip up on there, because this was a pretty good montage put together here of the Trump contradicting himself during one of his recent press conferences here. This is what we were just talking about, as far as he wants everybody's help. He wants Europe's help. He wants NATO's help, but he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it, but you better say yes, because we definitely need it, but we also don't need it. Again, this is just a real quick kind of compilation put together here, 42 seconds long, of Trump contradicting himself during this press conference. Let me see if we can start at the beginning. I'm not muted. Good. Let me see if I can play this for you guys.
If we ever needed help, they won't be there for us. I've just known that for a long period of time. We have some that are really enthusiastic. They're coming already. This isn't need. Need would be one of the big boys. If we need their mine boats, or if we need...
Literally 1 minute later, from 12:54 p.m. to 12:55 p.m., we don't need anything. We don't need anybody's help. And then at 12:55 p.m., it's like, Jesus Christ, Grandpa, get it together.
Anything, any piece of apparatus that they may have because of a situation that they have, they should be jumping to help.
I'm sorry, what? Can you repeat that? Was that a sentence? What the fuck was going on there?
So if we need anything, any piece of apparatus that they may have because of a situation that they have,
okay,
they should be jumping to help us. We want them to come and help us with the straight. My attitude is, we don't need anybody.
What? Jesus Christ. It's like before medication and after medication, right? I don't understand. Like, how do you forget that you said you need everybody's help? And then you're going to go on about 25 minutes later and say, hey, we don't need anybody's help. And then you're going to expect people to jump at the opportunity to help and send their soldiers into a war zone for absolutely no reason that they could be told. Like, there's still no active justification in which any European fucking ally or any NATO ally would get involved in this. Again, they're more likely to try to strike a deal to just get their economy back going, to get the oil back flowing if they've been deprived of it so far. More than they're likely to send their warships and soldiers into harm's way on behalf of fucking you.
We're the strongest nation in the world. We have the strongest military by far in the world. We don't need them.
But again, we do need them. As much as he's pissed off that they're not sending their help because we need them, he's also saying that we don't need them. It's just, it continues to go on with dumb rhetoric and crazy rhetoric, because that brings me to this. And that brings me to this fucking clip, because I know people are talking about this. I know he's talked about Cuba. I know we've brought up before the plight of the Cuban people right now, as far as energy, as far as fucking food, the whole 9 yards. They're really hurting and suffering, and Donald Trump loves to talk about it as far as like it being a good thing, them being kind of weak and unable to fight back, as he loves to say, so that when he's done with Iran, when he's done destabilizing the Middle East, he can go on to Cuba. But this is one of the more dictatorial, more maniacal, one of the more Hitler-esque things that Donald Trump has said in his time in public office. And again, probably barring the direct quotations of Mein Kampf, Probably barring the direct quotations of any Hitler speech, this is probably the second most Hitler-esque thing I've ever seen him do, which is blatantly as the president of the United States saying that he's going to have the honor of taking over Cuba, of invading Cuba. Like, this is just now outright being said in the Oval Office by the president of the United States. And it's just fucking, I want you to get it through I want you to understand how crazy this is, right? And how not normal it is to hear somebody say this and talk about, again, taking over an entire sovereign nation, taking over, an entire country, murdering people, killing the civilians, knowing what happens during invasions. But again, this is Donald Trump being questioned by Peter Doocy about, his recent, rhetoric towards Cuba, what we can expect as far as Cuba is concerned. And listen to Donald Trump's response in this, because again, if this isn't one of the more Hitler-esque moments, one of the more dictatorial, fascistic things that Donald Trump's ever talked about, or the way he talks about it, the action that he's talking about in general, then I'm not sure what's going to be pinpointed as that. Check this out.
I was just with a fantastic person who's Cuban and made a fortune in sugar, Fanjul family, right? And this family wants to go back to Cuba to visit it. They haven't been back in like 50 years or something. They largely come from Cuba. And we'll see what happens. They were asking me about that. They want to go back. Not only Fanjul, a lot of Cubans have said, "Oh boy, would they love to go back." I think Cuba, in its own way, if tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor. Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders. Castro was a very violent leader. His brother's a very violent leader. Extremely violent.
So again, he starts this whole fucking monologue off by talking about a rich family that made money in sugar. What's he say? Sugar or something like that, that really wants to go back and visit Cuba as being the justification for, again, starving the people, cutting off the fuel, cutting off the energy, turning off the lights, talking about how they're going to be next on the list as far as invasions, land to be, overtaken by the United States and Donald Trump and his fucking, plot to take over the world, I guess, at this regard. I don't know. He's talked about more countries than any other fucking person that I can think in recent memory as far as taking them over, invading them, bombing them. I don't even know what else you could think of, but he's probably thinking of it behind the scenes to try to do it to a country. But this is fucking insanity, okay? This is outright insanity. That he's talking about this as like continuously bragging about how weak they are, how good a job that the United States has done at creating, their instability, at creating the weakness that are now faced by the Cubans there, that we're just going to overtake it. We're just going to invade it. We're just going to fucking, I'll have the honor of taking over Cuba. Like, do you understand what it entails? Like, do you understand what happens in that short sentence that he said, taking over Cuba, how many people will die, how much will change? The instability caused by that, the retaliation that's possible from something like that. I mean, it's out of control. It is fucking absolutely out of control at this point. This guy just has absolutely no reason, no fear, has faced no accountability whatsoever to make him kind of take a step back and to think about the fucking things that he's actually saying in front of a camera, in front of a microphone. I mean, this shit is crazy. Okay, I want you to know that this is crazy. This is no different than again, Hitler saying he wants Czechoslovakia. He wants Poland, right? He wants Russia. He wants Belgium. He wants France. He wants he wants Britain. He wants, what is the difference? What is the difference here? That he has the military power to do so. He now has the military might, he thinks so, to do anything that he chooses, to take over any country that he chooses, to wield it in a way that like his weapon, right? No different than when Hitler rebuilt the German military. when he finally had the numbers of armored vehicles and tanks and soldiers, and he finally had the plan in place to go take over and conquer Poland, to go take over and conquer Russia, to go take over and conquer France. Like, what is the difference? He just knew that he had the military power to do so. And if he acted swiftly, that the allies weren't going to be able to do anything. I just don't understand how this differs from that situation. A guy that said, poisoning the blood of our people, that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our people, just like, Hitler said, right? When he calls them vermin, when he calls them rats, when he calls them disease-ridden parasites, like the Germans referred to the Jews during World War II. Like, it's fucking, what is different again? What is different? I know everybody likes to say it was hyperbole and, oh, Jesus, Brian, you're making a big deal calling him Hitler. That's crazy. You can't compare him to that guy. Why not? He says the same fucking shit. He's responsible for God knows how many millions of deaths right now, adding on COVID, right? Adding on the fucking deaths of this war, adding on the deaths of fucking the American people because they can't get health care that they deserve, right? Adding the deaths of, all the women that fucking lost their lives on the step of the fucking hospital because nobody would give them care in the red state. Like, all of these things, all of the fucking Venezuela strikes, all of these things now adding up to a death toll directly on the fucking, the blood's directly on the hands of Donald Trump. The U.S. servicemen and women that have lost their lives in the Iran war, the children that have lost their lives in this war, the civilians that have lost their lives in this war, the U.S. fucking citizens that were shot in broad daylight on the streets of America, blood on the hands of Donald Trump. What is fucking different? You guys tell me. If I'm being hyperbolic still, you guys let me know because I don't see it. I don't see it as being fucking hyperbolic. All right. We got how much time left? I'm cutting it close here. But we might be able to dive into a couple minutes of this. And then I don't know how much of the Piers Morgan we'll get into. But again, we might not have to jump into too much of that to kind of get the point from that one anyway. But this is Jen and Pumps from the I've Had It podcast, talking about Trump's blunders in his press conference. Haven't seen any of this. I'm just kind of curious their take on some of, again, the crazy things that Donald Trump has said in recent press conferences, the lies he's been telling about, the status of the Iran war, the status of the Iranian military, the capabilities of the Iranian military. Just curious what their thoughts are on this. So make sure you guys hit that like button, please. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. I mean, how many do they got? They got 1.6 million subscribers, so they can shed a few, okay? I think a couple people that are now, subscribed over there. If you come subscribe over here, you can watch both at the same time. We're not on at the same times. I often cover their stuff, so we can intermingle here. So give me a couple of those 1.6 million. Just get us to 20,000. That's all I'm asking. Above and beyond that, we'll do it from here. All right. Thank you guys. Hit that like button and we'll dive into this. Again, this is Trump blunders presser in White House, and that's probably all we'll get into as far as this video is concerned. All right, let's dive into it. Play.
They would.
No, you don't want to play? How about from the beginning? That's good.
All right, I've grown really tired of seeing videos of the president of the United States with dementia, face planning, rambling, pathologically lying. But he is the president of the United States. And it's important to keep some of the lies that he's telling in the news cycle and define them as lies.
You guys, just to let you know, we're up to 17. We're up to 17 super chats on that goal of trying to get to 20 before the end of the show. If we get to 20 super chats before the end of the show, then I will do my damnedest to get you guys, a little shout out from Ken Casey, lead singer of the Dropkick Murphys, as I go check out the Dropkick Murphys tonight at the House of Blues, baby. I'll be dipping out in just a few minutes. But again, we got a few moments. We got some time up there. So let's see if we can get to that 20 mark so I can get you guys that goal, so we can make sure that we can celebrate together, get you guys the shout out that you guys deserve. All right, let's do it.
And not wash them as corporate media does. Here he is in the Oval Office, and he's just mystified, absolutely mystified that Iran is striking back. Play the clip.
Thank you. You were talking about Iran a couple times today and what they did after Epic Fury began. You said they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked. Are you surprised that nobody briefed you ahead of time that might be their retaliation?
Nobody, no. The greatest experts, nobody thought they were going to hit. They were, I wouldn't say friendly.
He's literally admitting it. He's literally admitting it, fam. What are we doing? What are we doing, fam? What are we doing, guys? He's quite literally admitting that they did not think that any retaliation would come from this. Is that what he's stating? Yeah. Is that what he thought? No experts at all Thought that Iran would have the ability to retaliate, knowing the capabilities, the stockpile and the production of Shahed drones, knowing about their ballistic missile capabilities, knowing about the lies that you guys had eradicated, all of, like, just oh, wowzers. What are we doing, folks? How the fuck did we get here? How the fuck did we get here? Literally a war in the Middle East undertaken without thinking there'd be retaliation. Oh, if you don't laugh, you'll fucking cry. And if you cry too much, you'll go insane. So laughter is the best medicine. Yeah, we'll kick off a war in the Middle East without thinking there'll be retaliation. Fuck me. All right. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
They were like neutral. They were.
All right. I don't know anything about military strategy. I mean, nothing. But if somebody said, hey, Jennifer, here's the map, here's Iran, here's all these American military bases and embassies around, here's the United States on the other side. The United States and Israel attack Iran. Who do you think they attack back? It would be very obvious for me to deduce that they would hit the U.S. interests in the surrounding countries and hit Israel. This is,
and I do think that to a large extent it's a bunch of bullshit, obviously, because I think it was widely reported that even like Dan Kane made it widely known that the wider impacts that could be felt from this. I don't think he necessarily went against the president's wishes or his want for conducting these strikes and conducting this war, but I do believe that he did make it pretty apparent as to what they could be facing in retaliation and in return. But Donald Trump thought that they had such overwhelming military power and that Iran was going to capitulate after the first bombs were dropped. As soon as the Ayatollah was taken out, the whole country was going to be coming to their knees. The IRGC was going to lower their weapons. The citizenry of Iran was going to overtake all of the government buildings. They were going to have like all of this bullshit that Donald Trump thought was going to happen. Like none of it did take place in this regard. But I mean, to see that he didn't even think like that Iran would have the ability to retaliate against all of these other nations, against our bases in the area, have the effect that they've had on the Strait of Hormuz, just goes to show the incompetency, right? Just goes to show you the ignorance that this fucking war was undertaken with. So, I mean, it really is remarkable to see.
Stupidity on top of stupidity. He had a guy who would have briefed him on all of these things regarding Iran, but that guy got lumered. And that guy got fired because this man sits around like a chatty Cathy on the phone talking to nuts all the time.
Well, and the past is prologue. When there have been conflicts in the Middle East, they go after U.S. properties in the Middle East. I'm like you, I don't know anything, but I know that. And it just shows that the incompetence built into a Secretary of Defense that is such a complete dipshit that this is what happens. Further, you hear reports that he was told and he ignored it. The bottom line is Trump doesn't.
Right, exactly. What she just stated is definitely true. He was definitely told about the secondary impacts of this. He just chose to totally disregard that, thinking that everybody on the world stage thinks he's so mighty and powerful, they would just bow down to his feet and they were going to capitulate. It would be, a total surrender right after the first bomb was dropped.
Give a shit. The only conclusion I can draw from all of this is he went in, he wanted to do it, he thought it made him cool and big, and Israel really wanted him to do it. So he was all in, and consequences are not something that he takes into account when he makes decisions.
Okay, and
so again, lack of time that we have. I wish we could get into a little bit more of that, but just to see if we can get into a couple clips here of the Piers Morgan, where this woman, I'm not too familiar with who she is. Let me see. I think it is Carrie Prejean Bowler. Not familiar with who she is, but she's confident enough to go on to Piers Morgan and declare MAGA dead. So again, let's see if we can just play a little bit of the intro here, and then just a little bit of where she kind of declares MAGA to be a dead political party. and see if she's got anything behind that statement. Piers Morgan, again, somebody who's been increasingly more critical of Donald Trump, somebody that is along the lines of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson, as far as we consider him around here, somebody directly responsible for Donald Trump's, second administration, the lies being told, the obfuscations in the defense against Donald Trump, but also somebody that it's beneficial, that somebody that was or is likely to defend Donald Trump to the point that he does when he does speak out against him, to use his rhetoric against the GOP, to use that rhetoric against Donald Trump himself. So here's, I think, a little bit more of Pierce being a little bit more willing to call out the ridiculousness of this war and the dangers posed from it.
MAGA is dead. It is deader than dead, and Americans are furious. I've been a loyal supporter of the president for almost 20 years. I consider him a dear friend, and I will tell you right now, I do not recognize our president.
This is the riskiest thing Trump has ever done in politics, bar none.
And that's Michael fucking Knowles saying that, people. That is Michael Knowles saying that this is the riskiest move of Donald Trump's political career. And I think that is the understatement of the century as well.
The only reason that I'm not freaking out now, I say I'm not freaking out until week 6. He said it would take 5 weeks. I'm going to freak out on week 6. For now, I say let him cook.
I'm announcing right now on your platform another invitation for Ben Shapiro to debate me. You gave him space. You platformed his views. You gave him time. And all of that was not enough for him.
Might be tempted for a bit of a transfer to the uncensored empire. Do you fancy joining us? Politics should not be the first concern when it comes to matters of war, but the potential consequences for President Trump are severe. The midterm elections were already looking pretty bleak before a single shot was fired. Now voters are glued to their screens, watching the U.S. spend $1 billion per day on a war they mostly...
Sorry, more like $3 billion a day. Accurate depictions and accurate estimates, talk about how it's well more than $1 billion a day. We've been, consistently jumping into the Iran, war. Let me see if I can pull that up right now. We'll see what that states that we're at right now. Let me throw that on the screen. So yeah, 22 billion, just about to crack the 23 billion mark, but that's again calculated at $1 billion a day. Not the further estimates that are much higher than that, some going even above $3 billion a day. So again, you take that number, you triple it, and then you
pose at a time instead of the economy is their foremost priority. A president who returned to the White House with such energy and optimism could well leave it as a lame duck, and he may well be impeached again. It's one of many reasons why some of Trump's most fervent supporters are so openly upset that he's supposedly reneged on his peace ticket pledge. And no matter where you stand on the conservative media food fight, the shifting balance of power is objectively remarkable. Senator Lindsey Graham and commentator Mark Levin, both former Never Trumpers who are currently declaring a holy war, are back in. Megyn Kelly, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Tucker Carlson, among others, are frozen out. The president wrote a lengthy and passionate tribute to Levine this weekend after Megyn Kelly said that Levine's inflammatory rhetoric is the result of what she called his micro penis. Marjorie Taylor Greene has just responded by saying that MAGA has been destroyed by micro penis.
Sorry. This fucking, I don't think I'm going to do the vertical anymore. I don't know why it just keeps fucking muting me. I have no idea why it keeps muting me, but it's funny to see that, the people that are now coming out against each other, these MAGA fucking politicians, the MAGA commentators are now going as far as to call Mark Levin, Megyn Kelly called Mark Levin micro penis. Like, that just goes to show you how they're not going against, they're not in lockstep like they used to be. They're not in lockstep going against the Democrats. They're not in lockstep going against Democratic politicians, Democratic policies. They're now talking about Mark Levin's micro penis. It's gotten to a point now, this MAGA civil war, where, it's almost comical at this point.
Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, who of course campaigned for Trump.
And again, let me just go to the point here where she says that MAGA is a dead party, if I can find it here. Let me see here.
Which I believe is being overrun by extremely hardline far-right characters like Smodrich and Ben-Gvir, who have a
Let me see if I can
already
find it,
much
sorry.
longer than he indicated it would. And there's no apparent easy off-ramp for him now.
It's funny. I could hear my dad screaming at me, and I was like, "What the fuck is he screaming at?" He's trying to tell me I was muted, like an idiot.
And it's causing a lot of damage economically, politically. Militarily, America is
Are
superior.
you guys familiar with this chick? You guys familiar with who this is? Yeah, I know. My apologies. I know. I was. Seems like you guys are familiar with her. I don't know. I'm not familiar.
But even there, they're sustaining losses. And there are many people, even in the most fervent MAGA part of his support, who say, look, this guy campaigned on no more involvement in foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East. What is he doing? Staking everything on the biggest war imaginable in the Middle East.
Thank you so much for having me, Pierce. I've been a loyal supporter of the president for almost 20 years. This goes back to when I was 21 years old and I was Miss California at the Miss USA pageant. And I've known him. I consider him a dear friend. And I will tell you right now, I do not recognize our president. I think that we are an occupied nation. I think that a foreign country has occupied our government. And we are seeing now that this president of the United States of America is being influenced by a foreign government. And MAGA, let me tell you right now, MAGA is dead. It is deader than dead, and Americans are furious. We do not recognize President Donald J. Trump anymore.
And again, we'll end on that one because I got to run off to the concert, guys. But again, just to show you and highlight these people. And again, I don't know who that woman is from a fucking piss hole in the snow. But by her own remarks, they're a good friend of Donald Trump, a longtime supporter of Donald Trump, an ally of Donald Trump. And now talking about how the MAGA party is dead, how we were led and we're directly being occupied by a foreign nation. That foreign nation being Israel, and that are now in direct control of our government, direct control of our military. And basically where they're fucking led to, to fight, whose fight they're led to fight and to begin with, which again, it is not the fight of the American people. It is not the fight of the United States citizenry. But again, I got to jump out of here. I do appreciate you guys. Let's get into thanking some people over on the Venmo side of things. Thank you, Tiff, for keeping me up to speed on the time. You guys are the best, and I do appreciate you for guys, all of your support. Let me see if I can get over here on Venmo and say thank you to anybody that may have contributed today. We like to highlight, again, if you guys are just joining us, if you're new to the show, if you send in a super chat, it looks like we got to our goal too. Looks like we hit our goal. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. I appreciate it. Let's start on YouTube. Let's start on the Venmo side of things and say thank you to everybody. I appreciate you. Let's see here. I'll go over to old Transy Actions. Thank you, James, first and foremost on Venmo today. Dropkick Murphys with a ticket and a little, rock on. Appreciate that, James. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Let's see here. Laurie, thank you so much to Laurie for your contribution on Venmo. A couple beers being bought at the Dropkick Murphy show tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you to William on Venmo as well. William says, happy St. Patrick's Day. We need more voices like you. No, we need more people like you, Will. We need more people to step up and to support shows like this. Again, I'm just a guy with a camera and a microphone. It's people like you that are making the contributions to these shows that are really stepping up. You guys are the resistance itself. And again, I'm just part of the movement. So again, I appreciate you guys with all my heart. You guys put in the work. You guys put in all of the stuff necessary to keep these shows going and to make sure that people can hear these voices. So again, it's all on you guys. Thank you, Nancy, as well, for everything that you do. She says, "Happy St. Patrick's Day. Have one on me." I certainly will, Nance. Thank you so very much for everything that you do. Very much appreciate that. And let's hop over to YouTube side of things and thank everybody here on the YouTube side of things. Thank you so much, Greg. First off today, thank you so much for the 4-month contribution there. Swing that fact bat. Appreciate that so much. I sure will. Thank you, Kimberly, as well, for the $2 contribution. Shout out to you, Kimberly, here for the MAGA implosion, right? And again, as we've detailed in a few different ways today, there are more and more people, more and more of these assholes, the people that are so dumb and so like ignorant and have been propagandized and have bought into all this bullshit. Even they are in more, like, they have more clear sight into what's happening right now than the leadership of this country. Like, even these degenerates that we showed on the fucking show today, they have a clear depiction of what's going on, even with everything else they continue to espouse and believe and love, than Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and our leadership has right now. It's dangerous. It's crazy. But again, we continue to highlight that on the show. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Stephanie, here for 11 months. Let's fucking go. Happy St. Patrick's to you. Appreciate that. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, Greg, again. What about Micropene Levine? Yeah, I didn't see that earlier. We got into that finally. We finally got into it. Thank you, Greg, for that 22 months contribution. Thank you, B. What's going on, Bri? First time, not last time. Love me a Brian that spells it my way, right? Who does it with a Y, dude? Who does it with a Y? Just, who doesn't? I'm kidding. I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you so much for your contribution. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, brother. Thank you, Elizabeth, for 18 months. Let's go. Voter suppression in Texas is off the chain, right? And that continues to fit in with their ploy, their plot to kind of take the elections or affect some change on the elections, the midterms. So we need to continue to take a look at that as well. Thank you, Elizabeth, for bringing that to our attention. Thank you, SFD. Wall Street Journal says Israel invades Lebanon. They used the word. Right, exactly. None of that mealy-mouth bullshit, again, that they come out with to try to make it seem like they're moving forward to defend. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of here. We know better on our side of things. So thank you, Stoneflower Dragon, for your contributions. Thank you, Laurie. Dropkick Murphys. Let's fucking go. See if we can get you some good videos, some good shots tonight. We'll show them on the show tomorrow. Depending on how I feel tomorrow. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Blue State Champion, as well, for the 5. Keep your money in your community state to fight fascism. Amen. Amen. I appreciate that, and I support that that statement there. I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you for your contributions. I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Let's see who's next. Motown Mimi. Let's go, Motown Mimi. Appreciate you. Shout out from Detroit on St. Patty's Day. Right back at you, Mimi. Thank you so much for your kind contributions. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you again, Corey. Appreciate you, Corey. Thank you for the $20. Shout out to you, Corey, on this wonderful St. Patrick's Day. Go out and enjoy it, you guys. Thank you to Thomas a couple times here. Tom and Victoria, appreciate you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Right back to you, Tom. Enjoy the Dropkick Murphys concert. I sure will. I'll see if I can bring you guys along. Maybe I'll pop on tonight at some point if the service allows. I don't know. Who knows? Thank you to Melissa as well for 20 months being a member here. Have fun at Dropkick Murphys. Let's fucking go. I sure will. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Ruben, as well. Woodenhead, Trump is beyond stupid. Absolutely. I second that. Thank you for being here for 6 months, Ruben. Good to see you, brother. Thank you, Greg, once again. Trump's head isn't wood. It's putrid from under cheese. Also have a beer on me for St. Patty's Day. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the cheese there. If I mispronounced that, I do apologize. But I do believe that his head is more cheese than wood at this regard. So thank you, Greg. Appreciate you. Hey, Bethany, what's going on? Thank you so much for the $3 contributions. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Everybody wearing green. I sure am, Bethany. Only on your behalf, though. Thank you, Easy Rider, for the 5. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your kind contributions. I always appreciate seeing you. Always appreciate the contributions from everybody. Same thing with Mama Brooke. Let's go, Mama Brooke. For your goal, hugs, everybody. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And again, let's see if I can get you the shout out. Again, no guarantees. I'm hoping. I don't know what access I have. We'll see if I can even get it within 10 feet at some point. If not, I'll have to yell over it and kind of do a voiceover. I'll do an AI Ken Casey. No, I'm kidding. Thank you, moms, for the 5. Enjoy the show. I'm jealous as fuck. Well, again, like I said, I'll see if I can either take some video or bring you guys along for the ride. So like you're there. It's like you're there. Thank you so much, Momzo. Shout out to you. Thank you, Dame. Good to see you last night, my brother. Thank you for coming to the hangout. Enjoy the concert. Dropkick Murphys rock. They sure do. Not only do their music rock, but also their message as well. Thank you, Stoneflower Dragon, for the lobster love. Thank you, Yakov, for the 5, from me and Tina Bradford. Let's go. Appreciate that. Thank you, you two. Shout out to both of you guys. Thank you. Just give the little one a shout out too as well. Thank you, Rachel. Kiss me, I'm shit face. I'm so soiled and brown. There you go. I don't know if anybody recognizes that, but I do appreciate you, Rachel. Thank you so much. And no, she's not being dirty. It's St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Get your head out of the gutter. Get your head out of the gutter. Thank you, Rachel. Good to see you last night, too, at the hangout. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Marsha. Let's go, Marsha. I was just going to say, Marsha, I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. I don't know how much I'm allowed to announce, but I do want to say that we do have some good news coming from Marsha's way. So I'm glad to see that Marsha is on her way to recovery. I'm glad to see that, again, this community stepped up in a major way to give support, to make sure that they were there for a friend in need. So appreciate you, Marsha. We love you. We hope you're recovering well. Thank you so much for being here and your contributions. She says, trying for that Dropkick Murphys. How the frick are we going to clean up the scum from Toxic 47 and regime? Kind of fearful of the answer. Love community and Boston. Brian, right back at you, Marsha, from everybody here at the Blunt Politics crew. Thank you, Linda. Keep up the good and important work. I sure will, Linda. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kristen, for everything that you do, for being a member for 23 months. Happy St. Patty's Day. Deviant Dawn is all up in the Epstein files. Love you all from Canada. Right back at you from down here in the States. And thank you so much for your contributions. And thank you, JD, rounding it out today. Still better production than the Newsmax. Yeah, sorry about that. I got to figure out, maybe there's a button I could push where it doesn't automatically mute me when the video goes on. Again, today was the first time of us kind of trying that vertical live as well. So some stuff to figure out, some bugs to work out. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me through the mutes. I do apologize. Hasn't happened in a while. I got to say, I haven't muted myself in a little bit. I know I've not played the right clip a few times, but come on, give me some goddamn credit. I am progressing, which is exactly why you guys should hit that subscribe button so you guys can be here for both shows that we have tomorrow. We got a show at 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, and then we got a show at 8:30 tomorrow on the East Coast as well. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys sign up for a YouTube membership or check out the Patreon at patreon.com. Or again, just send a Venmo. $1 or $2 is all I ask for. We don't hide anything behind a paywall. There is no charge for the Substack. We have no sponsors. We have no backers. We have no corporate fucking people telling us what to say, what we can say, and what we can't say. We try to do this the correct way, which is just based on the financial contributions of the channel members, of the audience itself. And again, if you guys find some value in this, if you find some information or education or, just a place to kill some time, then please think about reaching out and giving $1 or $2. Nothing more than that. I know it's a tough financial situation right now for everybody. It's an unstable situation. We don't know where this is going to head. So again, I am totally understanding of you guys not being able to. If you cannot contribute, then just like, share, subscribe. All the free stuff goes a long way in helping the old algorithm show that you guys like watching, and you're it's interactive, that you guys are engaged. So all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I got to get out of here. I got to get dressed and head to the city, head to the House of Blues to go rock out with the Dropkick Murphys. I will see you guys tomorrow for the show. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the best chat on the whole fucking social media space, which is right here. The Blunt Politics crew, the Lobsters, the Bryantologists, you motherfuckers here. I love you. All right, I'm out of here. I appreciate you guys.
officially named the undisputed. When did this come out? It's a new form of vicious violation to our country.
This guy's been drunk all day.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
Oh, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off.
Cacophony, a crescendo, a finale, a coup de grace.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful art. Give yourself some applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
Army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
He says, wrecked him, damn near killed him. Taking it back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses. I'm just dandy. I got a bowl of chocolate pudding in my underpants.
What uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
He's calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it. I've become an expert on guns. Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. We're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your... Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable... I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys. I'll see you tonight.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.